bills seek to accomplish. So let's see, I'll move to the next slide here. So you saw a snapshot of these bills in the State of the Senate address, hopefully earlier today at General Assembly. And I want to jump into these in a little more depth for you all and really discuss what these bills are all about, and hopefully share you some tools about how you can kind of learn to read legislation, read law, understand it, advocate, and how to advocate for it. And so, today I'm gonna do something a little extra special. Instead of just going through slides and reading off the slides, I'm going to show you where the bill is actually at in the legislative process. I'm going to show you how to read a bill, how to look for what a bill does, what it actually means, and then we'll discuss them in the context of community colleges and why they're so important. So first, Assembly Bill 775. So I'm going to stop sharing again here for a moment, and I'm going to show you what's known as the California Leg Info page. California Legislative Information. It's a public website, simply leginfo.legislature.ca.gov. And it contains a list of all the bills that are currently being heard in this year's legislative session. So I'm sharing my screen here, don't mind all the various tabs. But when you come to this page, it brings you to this section right here. It allows you to look up bills. And so, for those, advocates out there, interested in lobbying or political science or whatever it may be, it's really easy to find bills this way. You can search by keyword, you can look up by environment or other things. But today, again, we're going to be looking at AB 775. So I'm just going to type that in there. I'm going to go find it, and boom, there it is. This is the tagline for the bill up here. Public post-secondary education, basic needs of students. And you can see it's been introduced in the 2021-2022 legislative session. Next here, you can see it was introduced by Assemblymember Berman. And then in this first section of the bill, there's what's known as a Legislative Council's Digest. This digest is written by a group of lawyers, the Office of Legislative Counsel in our state's legislature. And they write summaries of bills that explain what they do. And so it explains some existing law pertaining to basic needs centers, and then says what this bill would actually do in brief. And I want to center most of our discussion, or most of the information, just on this piece here, so that way you all have a full understanding of what it is. We're taking directly from the language of the bill. So this webpage starts off by describing existing law establishes the community colleges as one of the three segments of public education in the state. It just says that community colleges exist. And existing law requests that campuses of the California community colleges give priority for student housing to current and former homeless foster youth, and requests those campuses to develop a plan to ensure that these youth can access housing resources during and between academic terms. And so this just expresses some of the existing law that tells community colleges how to help these student populations, but it doesn't tell you what the bill does just yet. And that's where we get to this first part here. This bill expresses some legislative findings and declarations about the impact of basic needs insecurity on college campuses. And I want to scroll down here and just get to those legislative findings. This reads much like the resolutions which we have discussed at our resolution voting sessions. And it describes really the importance behind this bill. A report released, and I'm going off section B here, a report released in March 2019 by the Office of the Chancellor of the California Community Colleges and the Hope Center for College Community and Justice found that 19% of the survey's respondents experienced homelessness in the previous year. 60% of respondents were housing insecure in the previous year, and 50% of the respondents were food insecure in the prior 30 days. This really goes to show that basic needs insecurity has reached really alarming rates, just as the bill says. but also says that some groups of students are disproportionately impacted by basic needs insecurity. And I'm sure many of the call are aware of this. Students of color, first generation students, students who receive financial aid, most likely low income students, former foster youth, and student parents. And if a student doesn't have their basic needs met, it directly impacts their academic success. These students are faced with the choice of whether or not to buy a textbook or buy a meal. I mean, these are really dire straits that students find themselves. And it causes them to miss, drop, fail classes, or withdraw from school entirely. And so this is really the problem this bill seeks to address. And I'll go back up here slowly, just scrolling up to the summary and getting really down to it, what this bill would do. And this paragraph discusses it mostly. This would establish, this bill would require each community college campus to establish a position of a basic needs coordinator and designate a staff person as that basic needs coordinator. And this basic needs coordinator would act as a broker in identifying, supporting, and linking students to on and off-campus housing, food, mental health, and other basic needs resources. And so what the intent is behind this is that if a student has an urgent need that is impacting their academic success, they should be able to go to this basic needs coordinator and say, I have this urgent need. It is affecting my academic success. I'm homeless. I don't know where my next meal is going to come from. I need diapers for my child. I need help. And this coordinator can provide them with an emergency housing voucher, connect them to CalFresh through their county services or other rapid rehousing programs through the county services. Someone who is really trauma-minded, who can say, hey, I can help you get through this. And this is a big reason why so many, I think, in my opinion, so many students are dropping out. We have like I said before, enrollment has dropped 12% statewide. And it's because I think students just simply don't have the resources they need to attend college at a full-time or even a part-time basis. And so what we've seen is that people who have these urgent needs met are more likely to stay enrolled, are more successful when they have their basic needs met. And some of the other intent behind this is that we want to establish not only basic needs coordinator, but a basic needs center, which is a central location on campus where basic needs services, resources, and staff be made available to students. And so the problem that we're trying to address is a student who shows up on a community college campus. It doesn't have to go to each office and prove that they're poor. They don't have to go to financial aid office and say, I'm poor, I need help with financial aid. They don't have to go to EOPS and say, and fill out another application. They don't have to go to their mental health or health office, health center, and say, hey, I need help with mental health. The idea is they go to a basic needs coordinator and they fill out one application, they do one process, and that coordinator coordinates. They connect all those services to that student so that they don't have to navigate a myriad of different resources. They don't have to go to all the different places on campus to get the help that they need. They can go to one place and they can get the help that they need. And so that is really the premise behind this bill at its core. And there's some other pieces here that feel free to dive into and you look at in your own time. But I think that's where I leave it here to discuss AB 775. And so that's the first of 5 bills I wanted to discuss with you today. And at this point, I just want to pause here and just see if there are any questions about what this bill is seeking to accomplish. And for those of you who are wondering, as I'm waiting for questions here, for those of you who might be wondering, what is a basic needs center? Like, do I have one? Does my campus have one? I will say that every single community college should have a food pantry. Every single college should have one. But not every community college campus has a basic needs center or something that's more robust, something that doesn't just provide food, but also does other things, like provide personal hygiene products, menstrual products, and other things that are a bit more expansive and holistic of needs. I see a raised hand from Delegate Johnson. Let's see, can I?
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. I just had a question regarding this bill. Would it allow more funds to be provided to each campus to create such a resource, or does it only seek to create them and does each school is responsible for figuring out the funds? That would be my question.
That is an excellent, excellent question, and a very, very, I think, astute observation. You can see here in this summary, under no place does it say where the money's going to come from to fund this, and that's an excellent observation. And that's why the SSCCC is also pursuing what is known as a budget request. We're asking the legislature to provide $30 million in ongoing funding to fund these basic needs centers. And so it's separate from this bill. It's not necessarily reflected in the bill. However, we're pursuing the funding in the budget process to fund what this bill would do. And so that money would go to paying the salary of the basic needs coordinator, some money to also help fund some part-time positions to help do that kind of casework that we're talking about, helping these students. And then third, of course, provide the actual funding to pay for some of these resources like emergency housing vouchers to put a student up in a hotel, maybe some money to buy food, and other products as well. So hopefully that helps answer the question. I see you have your hand up. You have a follow-up to that?
Oh, yes, thank you. I did have a follow-up. I'm not as familiar with, the terms as I want to be. Does ongoing funding refer to money that keeps coming back every year or academic year to refund this program, or is this like just a set $30 million that would be once and then we would have to pass another budget request to get more money for the next fiscal year or whatever?
Yes, you're exactly right. Yes, and that's exactly what it means. It means ongoing funding provided year after year, and it's really the difference between one-time funding, which is just, of course, provided one time in one budget, whereas ongoing, that money's in the budget every year until the end of time. It's going to be in the budget every year until it's changed by another act of the legislature. It's ongoing. So you're exactly right.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clear that up just in case I had it confused.
Yeah, no worries. All right. Well, I think that pretty much helps explain it. So, we want to really enhance the work that is being done by, some of you, I know your student advisors may run your food pantry at your college. They may help run your basic needs center. And so this bill, what we're trying to do is really highlight that work and make it go even further. Hopefully by providing funding, we can actually make more staff available to these students, make more of these resources available to students, and help solve some really urgent needs that students have. So that is really the premise behind this piece of legislation. And I see another raised hand. Is that about that bill? This bill? Go ahead.
There's just a quick point that you made that I kind of missed. So every community college in California should have a food pantry?
Yes, every community college campus should have some type of food pantry. It could be in a cupboard, it could be in a closet, it could be a giant room at a college. But everyone should have a food pantry by law.
Okay, because I don't believe that my CC currently has one.
Well, that is a problem, and I know that the funding that was allocated in the budget to create food pantries at community college campuses is actually running out. So that may be due to the fact that simply you might have one, but there might be just such a lack of funding that your college hasn't been able to cobble together the funding necessary to provide that food pantry. Or perhaps they don't have an agreement with a local food bank to take the food the food bank has, bring it on campus and give it to students. It could be, for a couple different reasons, but every college should have some type of food pantry, even if it's very, very small. All right. Oh, Antelope Valley College delegate, please go ahead.
Yes, I was just going to mention that I think at the bottom of this, like your shared screen, it mentions colleges being reimbursed for any costs.
Yes, and that is if the bill is unfunded. So say we don't get the money in the budget that would fund this bill, fund the program that we're trying to accomplish, fund basic needs coordinators, fund the centers. Then if the legislature passes this bill, it would create a mandate that is unfunded, and the state would have to reimburse community college districts for doing that. However, we don't want to go around that route. We want money in the budget that's ongoing and can provide that. So great eye, but hopefully we won't have to come to that, if that makes sense. All right. So I'm going to move on to AB 337. Let's see here. Seven Medina Board of Governors, California Community Colleges. This bill, again, we discussed just briefly during the State of the Senate address. And I'm going to do the same thing with you all again, and just show you how to use this tool that the California legislature has, how to look up the bill and find out what it means and how to read it. Because I know it just looks like a wall of text, but hopefully what I'm doing helps you all become, lobbyists in your own sense, and you can make sense of what I'm sharing with you here. So I'm going to go back to Cal Leg Info. I'm going to scroll back up to the top here. I'm going to click on Bill Search right up here. Boom. I'm going to go to bill number, and I'm going to enter in 337. And then I'm going to click search. I see here 2 bills showed up. We want AB 337, which is at the top, not SB 337. So I'm going to click right here. And it's going to bring me directly to this bill. This bill is, again, as I think I mentioned in the State of Senate address, is very straightforward. Again, this is a summary of the bill. And this second paragraph here really gives you all the context that you really need. So again, the community colleges is under the administration of the Board of Governors of California Community Colleges. And so the Board of Governors consists of 18 members, including 2 community college students appointed by the governor for 2-year terms. Except that the student member cannot vote during the first year of their term. And to help this kind of make sense, the student members serve staggered terms. So this year, we're recommending another student to be appointed to the Board of Governors. And the student that is on it right now is going to move to their second year of their term. But every year we appoint a new member. But when that new member gets appointed, they can't vote for the first year of their term. And so this bill would make a very, very simple change. It would simply eliminate the prohibition against student member from voting during their first year of the term. That's a lot of words just to say the first year student can vote. That's really all there is to this bill, because we believe the SSCCC believes that our system is so large. There are over 2.1 million, and sometimes in some years and in some semesters, 2.3, and I want to say almost 2.4 million sometimes students in our system, and they're incredibly diverse. Over 40% of our students are older than 26. We're not your traditional right out of high school system like CSU or UC. Many of our students have parents. I'm sorry. Many of our students are parents, I should say, who might be single parents. Many of our students are students of color. You know, California is an incredibly diverse state already. And so it really is very hard for us to say that only one student with a single vote can represent the interests of all students on the whole system. That's simply, I think, just not the case. And furthermore, you know, I think some people may see the first year student, oh, they have to learn the ropes before they can be allowed to vote. They have to learn what they're doing. But the thing is, in order for a student to get on the Board of Governors, they have to be appointed by the governor of California. The governor of California would be literally picking out one of you and saying, hey, I pick you, like I choose you. You are smart and competent enough to be on the Board of Governors. And before they even get to the governor's office, they have to apply to the SSCCC, and we interview them and ask questions, and they have to submit an application. And it's a very intensive process. I've seen it. I've interviewed the candidates myself. And these are incredibly competent student leaders, like I mean, all of you on this call. And so it makes no sense to say, hey, you're great, but you have to wait. And so we reject that idea. We think that if you've been trusted to be chosen for this office, you should also be trusted with the charge bestowed upon you, which is to vote on behalf of community college students. So I think I've said enough on that piece, but I'll just pause here and just briefly and ask if folks have questions, maybe a little bit more about what the Board of Governors is at the California Community Colleges, and the relation to your colleges, and what the body means and what the students do on this body. I think I see a few. I think I saw one question. Let's see. Do we know why they prevent the first student from voting, the first year student from voting? I want to say, honestly, if I'm being honest, I think it's just because they don't trust that first year student. They want to make them wait. They want to say, hey, you don't really know what you're doing until you have a year of experience. And again, I think that's asinine. I think we all reject that. You know, I'm smart enough to be in the position I'm in. Jasmine is smart enough to be in the position she's in. Many of you as delegates being chosen by your student body association, your student government, you've been chosen to play a role, and because of your excellency and all you know. And so I think it doesn't make sense to limit the student member to have to wait a whole year while the students of California desperately need their leadership. Yes, and also we are still taking applications for the Board of Governors. So if you know any students who are super bright, super talented student leaders, and even yourself, if you're interested, you see this and like, okay, I want to know more about this Board of Governors. I want to get involved at a really statewide level. Feel free to apply. I know the application is on our website. I think someone should be able to throw it in the chat here, and take a stab at it. Let's see here. I'm gonna just pause just briefly if there's any more questions. All right. Yeah, I think this one's pretty straightforward. So next, I want to go to AB 1290. This bill by Assemblymember Lee is on the Student Aid Commission and its membership. And so we're going to go back to California Ledge Info. And I've already kind of ran through how looking it up works, so I'm just going to go through it a bit more quickly here. Just going to type it in. And you see here, this is also pretty straightforward. The summary is very short, very easy to kind of read through. And so it says again, existing law establishes the Student Aid Commission as the primary state agency for the administration of state authorized student financial aid programs available to students who are attending all segments of post-secondary education. And so the Student Aid Commission is the commission which distributes your Cal Grant. Does anyone here receive a Cal Grant? Can I get like a show of hands? Maybe a comment in the chat. If you all receive, anyone here receives a Cal Grant? Maybe just one of you. There's got to be one of you, right? All right. No worries if you don't. Oh, I got one raised hand. Joseph, do you know which Cal Grant you get, if you don't mind sharing?
I don't know which Cal Grant I get, but I fall into the weird area of I don't actually get it, but I am eligible for it. It's kind of like I think I get I'm at 11 units, so I don't even get the full time. Maybe I don't know. I don't know a lot about financial aid. That's also why I'm here.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Yeah, so AB 1290, I'm sorry, the Student Aid Commission is the commission that kind of decides who and who doesn't get a Cal Grant. Not to say that they pick students' names out of a hat and say, all right, you get financial aid this year, but they run a lot of the programs, the Cal Grant programs that go to four-year students and community college students. They're the agency that sends out this financial aid. They're really just kind of the kind of middleman between the California's the coffers are the state's money and to students. They distribute that aid. But on this commission, there are a number of members on it, including 2 student members appointed by the governor who are students enrolled in a California post-secondary institution. What this bill would do is it would instead require the commission to include 4 student members instead of just 2, including 1 from each of the following: the University of California, the California State University, the California Community Colleges, and the California private post-secondary educational institution. So any private college, like for instance, Stanford is an example. And the premise behind this is also relatively straightforward. We want more student voices involved in the process. The commission has already been doing excellent work with the 2 students, and these 2 students have actually driven a lot of reform that we're going to talk about here pretty soon. And they are absolutely crucial to many of the work that the commission has done. And so we believe that adding 2 more will just hopefully double that work, double that amount of influence, that level of engagement, and that level of excellence that the commission is involved in. So that really is the premise behind this bill, just adding 2 more student members instead of just the 2 that currently exist. Another reason why I think this is equitable is that on this California Student Aid Commission, 1 representative from the University of California and the California Community Colleges have kind of an administrative representative. You're like, maybe for instance, it might be someone from the chancellor's office in our case, and another representative from the University of California and the California State University. However, they outnumber the student representatives. And so that's something else that we're trying to rectify as well. All right, I'll pause here just for questions behind this bill. All right, I'm going to slide back to this, and our next bill on the list. Oh, I see one. Yes, and thank you, Jasmine. It is also our turn to appoint to the California Student Aid Commission. Like I said, there's 2 members, and we rotate on who gets to choose a student member. So that's something that this bill would actually also fix. Is making sure that a student from each segment, there's always constant representation from with different students with different experiences from different segments. And if you want to be on the commission, also another great opportunity to apply. However, I should note that both these roles have 2-year terms associated with them. And so hopefully we plan to stay around in the community college system for a bit longer if you're applying. And next is a really, really cool bill. One that I actually wrote a lot of it myself. I wrote the law behind it. So it's very, very exciting to see it come into being. But this is AB 1216, authored by Assembly members Rudy Salas. And what this bill would do would empower student members on your local board of governors, board of trustees. At every community college district, there is a board of trustees, as I'm sure most of you are familiar. And this board of trustees makes decisions that directly impact you in huge ways. They set policies about grading, about academic policies, about whether or not you can pass or no pass a class, whether you can drop class, how that affects your academic, maybe it's your academic probation, student affairs, the programs that they fund, if they invest in basic needs centers, if they don't, they make every decision related to what happens at your community college. And on each one of those, there is a student member elected, selected in different ways, but mostly by a popular vote. Every student at your district selects a student trustee. And so what this would do is significantly empower the student trustee, because we think there's a power imbalance between these student members. Very often they aren't paid at all. They receive no compensation for the work that they do. Many can't make in second motions. Many don't even have an advisory vote, which means it's a vote that the student trustee casts that doesn't count towards the final tally needed to pass a motion. It's just a statement of value. They say, I agree with this, I vote yes on this, even though it doesn't really count. They don't even have that. And also, many can't attend a closed session. And so what this would do is it would give each student member on the governing board an advisory vote. It would also make that advisory vote come first before any of the other trustees, to make sure that the student voice is always heard first in any decision that it's made. Because in many cases, the student vote comes after all the other trustees have voted, nullifying the perspective of the student voice. This bill would also allow students to make in second motions. So for instance, if they see a problem on your college and they want to do something about it, they can't make a motion. I move to address this in this way. They have to be silent. They can participate in discussions, yes, but they can't even make a motion to determine the direction on which the board makes. And so this would make it so that each student can make in second motions like you do in your student government meeting or at General Assembly. It also allows you to attend closed sessions of the Board of Trustees, and also receive compensation, just like any other regular board member. And then, yeah, that's it. It would give every student an advisory vote, the ability to make in second motions, be compensated, and attend closed session. And that's really the gist of what's behind this bill here. All about empowering students. Are there any questions about this bill? It's fairly straightforward. Yes. Go ahead, Kyle.
Oh, thank you. I accidentally unmuted myself, or I tried to unmute myself and that muted me. Sorry. I know you said that through this bill, if it was passed, it would the student trustee would have the advisory vote. I was just clarifying that they still would not have a vote technically on the board, though, just the advisory, correct? Or am I wrong?
You are correct. You are correct.
Okay, thank you.
And we did try to pursue that, and that's another very important note. The original version of this bill was AB 2910 that appeared last year, and it did try to give the student a full vote. However, we discovered that trying to give a student a full vote in this way creates a lot of significant challenges that cannot be surmounted. They're not challenges that exist for political reasons or ideological reasons. It can't happen. It's infeasible. And so what we're going to do is figure out a way to still accomplish that. Another piece of this bill is it would require, or actually would encourage, the Chancellor Office and the Board of Governors to establish a work group to examine the methods of providing a full vote to student members. And so we want to get to a point where we can provide a full vote to students. And we hope to look into solutions to accomplish that.
No, this bill's amazing, and I really appreciate it. I mean, we've discussed trying to figure out how to give our student trustee at our school a vote, or receive compensation in any way multiple times. It's come up. And so I didn't know this bill existed. So I'm going to bring this back to them on my next meeting and be like, hey, something's in the motion, and you can go advocate to our local assembly member that you want this passed. So I appreciate all the hard work, and good job writing this bill. I know you mentioned that. So
hey, I appreciate it. Yeah, and we need to spread this message, because I will say that this bill faces a lot of opposition from trustees, from college administrators, college presidents, because I think they're scared. They're scared of giving up their power and sharing that with students. And this bill directly combats that. It says, no, the students should have power. No, students are competent. Students have meaningful messages to share, and you have to hear them. And it's going to be a fight, to be honest with you. It's going to be a fight to get this done, to get it passed all the way through. And we rely on voices like yourself to share that message with your local assembly member, to show up to hearings in the legislature, to give public comment in support of the bill. And so we absolutely need those voices about why this bill is important. So I appreciate it. Any other questions or comments about this? All right, I'm going to move on here, just in the interest of time, to our final bill, and perhaps one of the most technical, and I would say even really hard to understand. It took me, took me a kind of a while to understand this particular bill, and I'll kind of spare you, some of the really nuance in it. This bill, as it currently exists, is rather confusing. I'm going to try to hopefully explain it in a different way. I mean, this is just a lot of text. It's really one of those bills that's just a wall of text to read. And so I'm going to share with you a different document that hopefully will help you kind of digest what this bill would do. So give me a moment here. I'm going to pause sharing here for those who would still like to read the summary, but introduce another document which might help you understand it a little bit better. Give me one moment here. Okay. Can everyone see this screen here I have here? Shows the California Student Aid Commission. I think it's up. I just want to make sure. Thank you. Thanks for the thumbs up. So I want to share with you what 1456 is all about. And I want to focus on these main policy changes right here. This bill seeks to address the Cal Grant system in our financial aid system across the state. Something that there are over 16 different Cal Grant programs. 16. I can name, there's a Cal Grant A, there's a Cal Grant B, C, Student Success Completion Grant, and Entitlement Grant. There's like a T grant. It's very confusing. It's like scrambled eggs. It's just all over the place. But in particular to community colleges, in order to be eligible for a Cal Grant broadly, you have to be under the age of 26. You can't be a certain number of years out of high school. So if you're an older student it's been a while since you've been to high school, it disqualifies you. And if you don't have a certain GPA, you can't get a Cal Grant. So we are reforming financial aid based on on two main things. We want to give a Cal Grant to people who need it the most, and we are using EFC, expected family contribution. Some of you may be familiar with this. When you fill out your FAFSA, that's what you're doing. You're adding in all these income, these assets to really determine how much is your family expected to contribute to your education. And that model does have some problems, but it's fairly good at predicting what amount of aid a student needs. And also, we want to remove these very inequitable barriers like age, time out of high school, and GPA. So move on to the next thing here. So what we have done is we have simplified everything. It's very simple now. Instead of all these different Cal Grants, there's only two main Cal Grants. It is the Cal Grant 2 and the Cal Grant 4. Can anyone guess what the Cal Grant 2, what students get the Cal Grant 2 and what students get the Cal Grant 4? Which students, which segment of education they go? Yeah, I see the raised hand. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Would it be 2-year students and 4-year students, so like
Yeah.
community college? And okay,
Yes.
all right, that's pretty. I like that. That's much less confusing.
Yes. So simple. It's not like A, B, C, all these different names. It's Cal Grant 2. It's Cal Grant 4. That's all it is, and that's what we're advocating for. And under a Cal Grant 2, all eligible 0 EFC students get a stipend. And 0 EFC simply means your family will not contribute anything to your education, and in the sense they can't help you pay for it. So these are students who have no family contribution, lowest income bracket, I guess you could say. And we also are eliminating GPA verification. You no longer have to do that. You no longer have to be a certain number of years out of high school. You don't have to be a certain age. It's open to everyone. And we're also moving the application deadline so that it's more accessible to students. And what this will do is it will increase the number of eligible students from 124,000 to 280,000. So currently 124,000 students are eligible. This would increase to 280,000. All those 280,000 students would get a Cal Grant under this proposal. Additionally, all eligible students who have 0 EFC and also that are SWDC, which simply means students with dependent children, they get a slightly larger grant. That's all that it simply means, is same eligibility same eligibility criteria, which is essentially none. Just verify that they have dependent children. And what's really interesting to note is that 28% of all 0 EFC students, that lowest income bracket in attending community college, are students with dependent children, their parents. 28% of them. And so this student would either get the students with dependent children grant or the Cal Grant too, but not both. And so the students with dependent children grant is a bit more. So we're just making sure we're helping out those students. And so I just want to go to this table here just to demonstrate the impact that this policy is having. And show that under the current award amount, this is that 124,000 number, the 124,260, 75% of those were 0 EFC. Under the new model, we have that almost 280,000 are eligible, and 100% of those students are 0 EFC. So we can see here that we're serving more students, and we're serving more students that need it the most. We're serving more low income students. And you can see that here. Under the current model, the average income per student is $22,000. Under the new model, the average would be $14,000. So we're serving a much more needy population, because those who are needy, they just couldn't get it because of these really inequitable eligibility barriers. And so that at its core is what we're trying to address here. An inequitable financial aid system that cuts so many of our students out of our state's financial aid program. And so that's really the core of what 1456 does, as well as establishing a Cal Grant 4, a bunch of other details related to that for four-year students, which I won't get into. But that is the premise behind this bill here. And there's a couple other demographics about, you know, how these changes under the model. We have more students with dependent children that we're serving here as well. So just wanted to share that about this particular bill. I'm going to pause here if there's any questions and comments about kind of what this means. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. I know we have about 30 minutes left, so I'm going to get to the lobbying portion of this presentation here. So I am going. Oh, what is the opposition saying about this bill? Oh, the opposition about this bill is mainly the cost of the bill. We are asking for $157 million in ongoing funding, which is a lot of money, and that would go to fund these Cal Grants for community college students. And so that is really the primary the primary opposition and concern. But the SSCCC is lobbying very hard with our other student partners, the students of CSU, UC, and community colleges. We as kind of organizations are all teaming up to advocate for this proposal. So, you know, rest assured, we're doing our best to try to make sure we get this financial aid in the hands of our students who absolutely need it the most. So in the interest of time here, I'll just kind of move on to our presentation about how to lobby. I'll keep this a bit briefer, a bit more brief, I should say. Just how to share your story in your voice and effectively with policymakers. So now that you are equipped with some of this information, how do you take this and share your story with a legislator? How do you lobby? And so maybe your director of legislative affairs, maybe your SBA, has made a legislative visit and you're going to attend it with your other fellow students. Maybe you've reached out to your region and your legislative affairs director for your region is going to set up some legislative visit to talk about some bills, which I highly encourage you all to do, is to get involved in your region's legislative affairs committee. And you're gonna learn how to lobby. So I just first want to share the importance of lobbying. 30% of Californians are between 18 and 34 years old. The percentage of likely voters in California who are 18 and 34 years old are only 20%. So 18 to 34-year-olds are only 20% likely to vote. So very, very poor, even though we make up 30% of the population. And the percentage of Californians that are over 55 years old is 18%. So much less than our portion of the population. However, they are 47% more likely to vote. They're likely voters over 55 years old. So what does that tell us? You know, what if the state government said it needed more money to increase funding for California's higher education system? For instance, the Cal Grant. Would you be more willing to pay taxes for this purpose or not? 53% of those youth, 18 to 34, said yes. And 39% of over 55 said yes, so less. And so what this demonstrates is that young people, although they care more about these certain issues, their voices are less heard. They're less likely to vote, and they don't have as much of an influence on what happens at a state level because they don't vote. Older people are more vocal and they have different opinions than young people. And these differences are more pronounced in legislative advocacy. I don't know about you all, but I have a part-time job. I attend 2 different schools. I attend 2 different colleges. I do this almost full time. And we as students don't have a lot of time to advocate. These adults who may be retired, have maybe it's their career to be a lobbyist. They are a part of an association or a union that allows them to lobby. They have a larger impact. And so we really have to pick up the slack. We start at a disadvantage here, according to the stats, and we have to make up this difference. So all this goes to say that your voice is underheard, but it is needed, it's valued, it will make an impact, and it will change policy. Legislators want to hear from their constituents. Not only that, they want to hear from their students as it relates to higher education policy. And you are all in a prime position to be that voice. And so without that voice, though, they make decisions with or without you. If you're not there in that room saying, when you pass this policy, you're going to hurt undocumented students, they don't hear that voice. But the decision's going to happen. The vote for a bill is going to be on April 8th for one of our bills. If they don't hear your voice, they're going to make a decision. And so we have to make sure that they don't make decisions in a vacuum, that they hear our voices, that we influence legislators and their staff. If we can influence policy if we influence legislators and their staff. And we accomplish this process through relationship and relationship building. What is a relationship? It's you meet with someone, you have a conversation, and you might meet and talk again and again. You hang out, it's a relationship. We establish a back and forth, an open line of dialogue between 2 different parties. And then that dialogue should be between you, the students, and your local legislators. And so I want to talk a little bit just about the legislature norms. You know, first of all, the Capitol is a little bit like high school. And I know we all hate high school. I hated high school. We don't want to talk about high school. We're in college now. But the legislature is cliquey. There are groups, there are people, there are things that people don't like about other people. There's backstabbing, there's bickering, and it's just as immature as high school. And so it's important to be aware that walking into a legislative visit, you're now walking into this high school where there's cliques, where you might have to be aware of some of these unique dynamics that are going on. So it's just to say that there's a larger picture of the legislature that you might be unaware of, but you can certainly learn about, prior to going to a meeting. And it's important to, in that kind of same high school analogy, not to talk about, gossip or politics, but to talk about the policy, issues that you care about, not about the political challenges that, maybe make it impossible to do so, or unlikely, or hard. You're here to talk about why the policy matters, why it's important. And you're there to talk about that with the legislative staff, and their role is to listen to you, to take that information back and tell their member, tell their senator, their assembly member, and say, hey, I met with students, this is what they said. They're going to relay the information that you share to the member. But sometimes you might meet with the legislator and say that yourself. But if you can't meet with the legislator, that's okay. You can still meet with staff, you can still have a conversation and get your message across. But something else to keep in mind too is just being aware of some of the deadlines that exist within the legislative process. For instance, as you've seen here, there are assembly bills and there are Senate bills. And that simply, the AB and the SB simply means assembly bill or Senate bill. It also means it's the House in which the bill originated in. It's either started in the assembly or it started in the Senate. And so you just have to be aware of where the bill is at in the legislative process. Is it in the assembly? Is it in the Senate? Is it being heard in a particular committee? And you can all find that out on that web page that we were using. You can see the votes, the history, at what process and stage it's in. Also be aware of what the stage where we are at in the budget process, if you are talking about the budget. Similarly, you don't have to be an expert at all, by no means, but just be aware of some of these questions and how your advocacy might fit into those. And I'm going to discuss these next three parts in three different phases: prior to legislative visit, during a legislative visit, and at the end of a legislative visit. So prior to it, these bullet points are pretty self-explanatory. Prepare what you will be discussing, do your research beforehand, anticipate tough questions, how much does this cost? How can the state pay for this? Understand the legislative role of influence. Are they on a particular committee that is influential? For instance, they sit on the Assembly Higher Education Committee and they vote on higher education bills. Tailor the message to the office that you're visiting. Are you visiting with a Democrat or a Republican? What message is going to resound more? What's going to make a bigger impact? And also make sure that you're meeting with the appropriate staff. In a legislative office, there are many staffers. Some work on budget issues, some work on legislative issues. Some cover labor bills, some cover education bills, some are on agriculture or economic development. You want to make sure that you're meeting with the right person. You might not want to talk about basic needs to the staffer who spends all their time looking at environmental policy. Maybe talk to someone else that does education policy stuff. And then finally, schedule a meeting for 3 to 4 people, and between 10 and 30 minutes. It's usually about the sweet spot in terms of the amount of people and the amount of time. Sometimes 5 people, 6 people is okay, but just know that when you add more cooks into the kitchen, sometimes things get messy. So keeping it smaller and more nimble is maybe usually a better idea. And finally, and most important, is get into a group of those people, make sure you all know who your group is, and use roles to guide your meeting. I'll talk about that in the next section here. Prior to the meeting, you want to have roles that help you run the meeting. You might have a spokesperson, so that you all know, okay, the spokesperson says, hi, I am here to talk to you about this issue. I'm going to introduce my colleagues that are here with me. And then your next role might be the person who shares the policy issue. So the spokesperson says, and then I'm going to go to the person who's going to talk about the policy, and that person shares the bill, goes through a rundown about the bill, why it's important, why your member needs to support it. And then maybe the third role might be the person who shares a story. Someone who has a story kind of rehearsed that's personal to them and demonstrates why this issue is so important. For instance, if it's about basic needs, that story might be, I've slept in my car, I'm homeless, this is something that would have helped me if it existed today. And so those three roles are really, I found really helpful. You have a spokesperson, you have someone who talks policy, someone who talks a story. You might have multiple policy people, you might have multiple storytellers, but be sure to establish which person is doing what parts and making sure that no two people are covering the same topics and everyone has what they'll be saying planned out ahead of time. That way, you're not going into the meeting room and just pointing fingers at everyone, whichever direction, saying you're doing that and that, and people are talking over each other and it looks very messy and disorganized. So try to establish that beforehand. Who's going to be saying what? Just like if you're preparing for a presentation in front of your class for a group project. And then finally, be concise. You may have 10, 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes, but that's not always a lot of time. That time goes quickly. So be sure you can share the information that you need to share in a very concise way. Summarize things, cut out the excess, trim down the fat, and make things very pointed. And then finally, tell the truth. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but I can help you find out and I can follow up. And that means being a resource as well. That's what it's about, being, having in a conversation. You might be talking with a friend about, basketball. You might be trying to encourage that, say that you might be arguing, saying, hey, Michael Jordan is the best player of the NBA of all time and not LeBron James. And, instead of making up stats about why that is, you can say, hey, friend, I don't know, but I can look that up and I can give you the stats. So that's part of being in a relationship. You don't want to be antagonistic. You don't want to stretch the truth. Just tell them the truth, be honest, have a back and forth, but don't be afraid to say, I don't know, and get that answer to them. Finally, have fun. It's going to be, lobbying is really fun and it's a great time. And I recommend, everyone does it. And lastly, at the end of a legislative visit, be specific and get a commitment. Say, I want you to do something. If you're talking about AB 1216, say, our students really care about this issue. Will assembly member, someone support this bill when it comes before them, when they take a vote? Have a call to action. And if they say, well, I don't know, I need more information, I don't know quite what to say, we need to do some more research, I'll get back to you. Ask how you can help. Keep that conversation going. Hey, okay, do you need some stats? Do you want to, our students to type up something that says why this is important? Can we give you some more information? Be a resource always. That way, when they think of this bill or they think of any other higher education issue, they'd be like, okay, they said they were a resource. They said they can get me an answer. I'm going to go to them and I'm going to get an answer and they can help me. It's a great place to be in someone else's head that, hey, they're an ally, they can help. And then also leave behind a summary of what you talked about. If there's a little one-pager, a summary of notes that helps them understand the issue, leave that behind, as well as business cards or other contact information. That way they can contact you. Take a picture too. Legislators always love taking pictures. And be sure to also debrief afterwards. Talk about what you shared. What did the staffer say? Did they say that other people might not like this? Did they say that their member can support it? Take notes and make sure that you understand what happened and maybe what to address for next time. Hey, you talked really slow, or hey, you talked really fast. Or hey, I think you could share this information in a different way that maybe is more effective. That way you can improve. But if you just simply leave the meeting and say, high five, that was great, let's get out of here, where's the intentionality? Did you learn anything? What are you taking away from the meeting? What are you going to do next? It's important to have those intentional conversations. And then finally, follow up with staff. Send a thank you note. Says, hey, thanks for meeting with us. We appreciate it. Simple as that. Just shows them that, say, hey, thank you for your time of day. We appreciate it. And maybe if you met with several offices, compile all your notes into a report. That intentionality. What are we doing next? Where does this lead us? Was it successful? Was it not? And so those are just some tips, from me to you about how to lobby, some things to keep in mind in when you're doing a legislative visit. And hopefully it's helpful if you try to when you try to do this and participate in this in the future. I'll kind of close here just a little bit before we move on to the kind of next section by saying we want you all to be partners in this work. And there's going to be a couple hearings coming up where these bills that we discussed will be heard, and we need legislators to support it. And so we would love for all of you to come and give public comment on those days. If you folks have your calendar in front of you, it'll be on April 8th and April 22nd. If you don't have your calendar in front of you, that's okay. We'll be sending out an email. So if you're subscribed to our listserv, you'll get a notification about it. You'll be getting information about how to call in, what to do, what to say, some helpful statistics, some talking points that can help you give your public comment at those hearings. April 8th, April 22nd. And if you want to do some legislative visits, connect with your local legislative affairs director and with an SSCCC in your region, and they can help you run visits by yourself and connect you with resources that you can use to help you plan these visits. So with that, I'm going to pause here if there are any questions about this information that I just shared here before I move on to our Jeopardy portion. Yes, go ahead, Kyle. You're on mute.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, it wasn't letting me. Thank you. Sorry, I don't mean to keep asking questions, but regarding the email that's going to be sent out to everybody, is there a specific list or email subscription thing we should sign up for to receive that, or will all the delegates receive it, or how is that going to be distributed? Because I'm definitely interested.
Yeah, most definitely. Are you subscribed to your region's listserv?
Most likely not, but I can...
What region are you a part of?
I'm from Las Positas, so we just got moved to Region 3 today. Well, I don't know when that takes effect, but I'm in Region 4 now. But after the resolution or the boundary switch today, I think we're in Region 3 now. But whenever that takes effect, I do not know. Gotcha.
Okay. So as long as you're subscribed to your region's listserv, you should get an email about this upcoming these upcoming hearings, and they should all be titled with something like action, hearing coming up, or something like that in the subject line. And so I think I also got another chat about your listserv. If you go, I think we have some sort of link, but I mean on our website we have our listservs listed, which maybe I'll actually go through right now and just show you. That way you all can know exactly how to do this. So go to Student Senate, our website, who we are, I believe, and down to regions, and click on that, and it should show us all our regions. And if you know what region you're a part of, you can click here. I'll just give an example of yours, Region 3. Should list the officers, especially the legislative affairs director is the person that you want to talk to about setting up legislative visits. You want more information, whatever else. And then also the colleges that are in that region. And where is the listserv link?
I believe it's at the very bottom of the page in the blue box.
Yes, here it is. SSCCC listserv. So it is down here, but there's a region listserv. Let's see. maybe not here, but this SSCCC listserv, this is always at the bottom of our webpage here. And this is how, oh yeah, here we go. And this is how you can subscribe to each individual region's listserv. So in your case, region 3, boom, and it'll take you to this, and you enter in your name, email address, and that's all you need.
I really appreciate your help. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Oops, sorry, get back to that. Okay, any other questions about how to legislative visits? Hopefully that helps. And then those upcoming hearings, be subscribed to the listserv, and you'll get a notice about the hearing that's upcoming. All right, Jasmine, I know we're a little short on time maybe for Jeopardy, but I think we can try to get as far as we can get. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Jasmine Prasad, who's going to do some fun Jeopardy here. So Jasmine, please take it away.
Yeah, and really quickly, Andrew, do you want to talk about advocacy in April? I dropped the links in the chat. Yeah,
sure. So another great way to get involved in this work is join us on April 14th for advocacy in April. That second link that Jasmine posted is the RSVP form for registering for legislative visits. So if you want to do some of these legislative visits like we've been talking about, lobbying on these bills, basic needs centers, money in the budget for basic needs centers, as we discussed, follow through on that link, get registered and be a part of it.